What did you say? There's no, I don't know if we can do it here. There's no.
No, send it to your phone.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Ralph. We are on 33A, 33A4. Because yesterday we just finished speaking about the idea of beautifying mitzvot, the mitzvah of Hidu mitzvah, Zekeli Vanveyu, and now the Gemara continues, Shahaya Navav Merubin. Right? We said if there's more berries than leaves, then the hadas is no good, right? You have to have more leaves than berries, right, Simon? So Amr of Chizda. So if Chizda said, you have it, Ralph, we're on 33A4 on the right side. So Amr of Chizda. Dovizeh Rabbeinu Gadol Omru. The following was said by our great rabbi. It's a very nice title to refer to him as the great rabbi. And who is this great rabbi? This great rabbi is Rav, our great teacher Rav. And Hashem should help him. It's also an interesting statement. It's a nice way of giving a bracha to the rabbi, that God should help him. Lo shanu ela b'mokem echad. This halacha, that if there's more berries than leaves, that's only if the berries are concentrated in one area of the hadas. But let's say you have the top of the hadas or the bottom of the hadas. You have, if you count up you'll have the berries. There'll be more berries than, let's say, the whole hadas has 100 leaves, right? And you have 101 berries in one area. So you have more berries than leaves. You have more berries than leaves. I mean, the total leaves of the whole hadas, let's say, is 100 leaves, and you got 101 berries, not total throughout the whole hadas. Not that throughout from the bottom of the hadas to the top of that you have 101 berries. You have on one particular area of the hadas, the top, the middle, the bottom, you have 101 berries concentrated in one area. But if the berries are scattered out, let's say there's berries on this part of the hadas, and then let's say on the bottom of the hadas you have berries. Let's say you have 75 berries on the bottom of the hadas. You have 30 berries on the top of the hadas. So you have more, at the end of the day, you have more berries than leaves. But since they're not concentrated in one area, and the leaves are more and not concentrated in one area, so even though the total amount of berries are more than leaves, it still will be good. That's this first opinion. The Gemara is going to reject it. Right, but the Gemara is thinking at this point that it would only, since the second place, it's not all in one place. So then it's not, and that the area where the berries are do not make up the majority, and not more than the total amount of leaves in that one spot. So therefore, it would be fine, since it's not all in one spot. That's what the lo shona el mokom echad of b'shnayim or shloshim mekomot. But if it's 2 or 3 places, then it's kosher. That means the way they want to say is like this. Let's say you have in each one of the places you have less berries than the leaves of the hadas, but the total number of berries at the end of the day will be more than the leaves. So the Gemara is saying, if you might think, this opinion says it would be kosher. So Amalei Rava, Rava disagrees with this pshat. Amalei Rava says, now we're turning the page. Shnayim u'shloshim makomot have menuma apostle. Even if it's in 2 or 3 places, so that also would invalidate, because it's not pretty, because at the end of the day it's scattered around multiple places in the Hadass. You have these berries, and at the end of the day, the total amount of berries is more than the total amount of leaves. So even if it's not concentrated in one place, it would be invalid. So ella itma hachitma. Therefore, he says you have to say that's not what he said. He said something else. What did he say? This is what you need to say. He says, the Mishnah stated that if there's more berries than leaves, then the Hadass would be invalid. So therefore, according to this, it means if you have 101 berries, it doesn't make a difference if the 101 berries are dominating one area of the Hadass, that you have so many berries in one spot, or if they're throughout the Hadass, the total number of berries is more than the leaves. But that's only depends what color are the berries. Now he says, because the color of the berries will affect how nice it looks. Because if the berries are green, like the same color of that dash, it blends, right? So therefore, it wouldn't invalidate the hadas. It's only when it's black, we'll see even if it's red, where it's distinctly different than the color of it doesn't fit in with the color scheme. It's not camouflage. Morning, Aaron. Good to see you back. It's not camouflaged with it. That's where the problem will be. It would lack beauty. Like it doesn't fit. What? Yes, I'm going to show you the illustration.
What happened if you started with the first day of the holiday with the green berries, and by the end of the red, but by the end,
Take a look, Aaron. See the different colors?
and then by the end of the holiday, they're right.
Right. So that's a good point, Simon. So it should be if on the holiday itself, you see some different colors. You see the berries. So if the holiday, by the way, it's a great picture. Looking at you both, looking into that sefer, to that picture. So that in itself is a picture. Hadassim, the myrtle with the berries. We have to go look for them. We got to go to the Hadassah pick them. Right, we got to go. Maybe I want you to Google the myrtle bush. I want you to ask Google about the berries on the bush. MYR, I think T, right? Right. Right. Sometimes you see even on flowers, right? You see these little on Hadassah, right? Maybe they do such a good job, they remove it before the Yom Tov, like we said. Come already prepared. So that's what the Gemara says. With a few lines from the top. Only if the berries are black. So because the berries of the Hadass, they start out green, and eventually Rashi says they start drying out, and then when they dry out, their color changes. They become black, like a sign of something that gets old. It changes its color. So, but if the berries are green, mine de hadassu. It's like part of the hadass, meaning it has the same color of the hadass.
I think that the green ones are newer than the red ones, in fact.
They are newer, they are moister, they are a lot dry, but they fit into the color scheme. It doesn't stick out like a raw thumb, if that's an expression. Right, like Simon says, it would according to this, it will be a big thing that if you're not watching your hadas on the Yom Tov itself, which you can't remove the berries if you have to, so you'll be stuck if it turns colors on the Yom Tov. But again, the only problem would be that it would invalidate it if you have more berries than leaves. And generally speaking, I presume that most of the time you don't have more berries than leaves. That there should be such a problem.
No, no tree has more fruit than leaves.
I'm not sure. I mean, the Gemara, the fact that the Gemara says that there is this possibility, at least this is not it's not a fruit. I mean, these berries, but I don't know if I don't know. Right. I don't know if these berries are edible. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean some of these, I mean, we're calling them berries, but I don't know if necessarily they're they're actually berries of eating. You know what I mean? There's some round, there must be some round stuff. You could Google that as well, Ralph. What are those berries? You know, are those MYRT? Yeah. Right. TLE, I presume. The myrtle, hadassim. You look up the hadassim, it's myrtle, right? So now the Gemara says, Amar Papa. Amar Papa. Adumot, if it's red, what status is red? Red is not green, but it's not black, right, Aaron? We said that if the berries are black, it's a problem. What's the status if it's red? Adumot kishchorot damir. They are like, they have the status of black, and that will invalidate the hadas, because red is not a color of green. It's really the the red color is the beginning of turning black. It's a sign of dryness. It's going from the yellow to the red to the black. Everyone got that? And therefore it is it's invalid. The Rabbi Chanina says, when it comes to the nida, the lady, you found something good, Ralph, on it? Purple is more like a black. It's like a black and blue mark looks purple, right? Right. So you see them on the tree. So you see them, right? They're showing you how they grow. Like many of them grow with some berries, but those what? They look like blackberries. Doesn't mean not everything. You can't judge a book by its cover. Not necessarily that something that looks like a blackberry. Someone looks like a great guy doesn't mean he's a great guy, right? So the Gemara says, as we find by Nida, there are certain colors that would be discharges of a woman. You know, the red color, the red is a sign of blood. What about if you see black? The lady sees a black color discharge. Is that discharge? Wouldn't that make her a nida? A nida, a lady has a period, you know, that she's forbidden to be with her husband. They can't sleep. They have to until she has to. There's a process she has to do until eventually she go to the mikveh. Then, as a result of going to the mikveh, Ralph, I'm being clear. And so to go to the mikveh, then she's going to be permitted to the husband, right? That's the laws, right, Aaron? The laws of mikveh. Now, so if she sees blood, that's a sign that she became a nidah. Now she has to, she can't be with us, sleep with her husband. But what about if she sees the color black? What is black? Is black, she has a discharge, but it's black. Is that, she has other, secretions that come out. If it's white, it's not blood. But what is the status of black? So black is really red, but what happens to the red color? Sometimes the color becomes gets hit a little bit, the color, so to speak, and it turns into black. So black, and I think, what do you think, Ralph? A black and blue mark. What is a black and blue mark? What was it originally? It was blood. It's red that really turned black, right?
But stays
But
for,
the
while.
blood stays. So that's what the Gemara says. The same thing by a woman. If she sees black, if you see black instead of red, it's really red that turned black. And being that it's red that turned black, is that clear, Ralph? Therefore, that blood would be considered blood of nidah. Therefore, that blood would that would be considered menstrual blood. That would make her a nidah, and then she has to go through the process, the great process, which is called taharat hamishpacha, family purity. Idea of a woman going to the mikveh, which is one of the, I think they say, like from the three big things of a Jewish home, right? What are the three things of a Jewish home? There's a lot of things of a Jewish home. You hear what Simon said? Shabbat, keeping Shabbat. Kosher, right? Kashrut, keeping a kosher home. And nidah, and family purity, right, Aaron? Those are the three basics for every Jewish home. Now, of course, we don't want, the Torah is not only 3 mitzvot. There's other mitzvot, there's 613 mitzvot, but this is like the basic, mitzvot that every Jewish home, therefore every person who gets married needs to make sure that they look for a woman who's dedicated to these 3. Of course, she should be dedicated to much more than that, and she should be a yirat shamayim, a God-fearing woman. But these are 3 basic, as we call aleph bet, right? The aleph bet is the 3 basic: the Shabbat, kosher, and taharat mishpacha, going to the mikveh. And Mr. Haber spoke about how the Sephardi community, how the building of the mikvot, they have, how the women, thank God, are dedicated to the mitzvah of nidah, of going to the mikveh. And obviously they're dedicated to Shabbat, they're dedicated to kashrut, but thank God their observance of going to the mikveh has become very common, very standard today, which is an amazing thing. As we know, the Torah says that there's a punishment, there's a very serious punishment for a person to sleep with his wife, have relations with her when she's in nidah. A very serious crime, so to speak, very serious violation of the Torah. Thank God the women and the men today are much more sensitive to this mitzvah, and it should continue. And we have to encourage that. Now the Gemara continues. Kosher, right? The Mishnah stated if you had the berries and you went ahead and we said if there's too many berries on it, more berries than leaves, we said it's invalid. You can't use it. But if you went ahead and you removed the berries, right? The Mishnah stated, then it's kosher, right? You remove the berries, and like we said, when should you remove the berries? Remove the berries before the Yom Tov. So the Gemara asked the question: What is the case of the Mishnah that says that if Isaac, we welcome Isaac, of course. What is the case of the Mishnah that if you remove the berries before Yom Tov, you remove the berries, that it's good, right? Oh, very good. That's going to be the question, the Gemara. Amen. When did you remove the berries? If you went ahead and you removed the berries before you tied the hadassim and the aravot to the lulav, shita, it's obvious that it is kosher. Why should we invalidate it? Because by the time you made it, you already had removed the berries. It was made kosher, right? It was made when you tied it. It was tied with the berries off because you had removed the berries before you tied it together. And so what should be the issue? Ella the batadag day. So when did it happen? After you tied the hadassim and the aravot to the lulav, then you went ahead and you removed the berries. And by the way, we're talking about here everything is before Yom Tov. because the Mishnah is going to say, but you can't remove it on Yom Tov. You can't remove the berries on Yom Tov. So we're talking about the guy who was following law. He was following law. He removed the berries before Yom Tov. That's not the issue here. We discussed yesterday. You can't remove the berries on Yom Tov. What's the law if you remove the berries on Yom Tov? But here we're discussing he removed the berries before Yom Tov. But when did he tie it? Did he tie it with the berry? Now, and when do you have to tie the lulav with the hadas and the ravs? Also, you have to tie it before Yom Tov. So you don't make the knot on Yom Tov. So when did he go ahead? So what did he do? He went ahead. And the Mishnah is telling you that if you what did the Mishnah say? The Mishnah says if you took off the berries, it's kosher. If you took off the berries before you tied it, of course it's kosher. So what's the chidush? It's obvious. Why is it so obvious?
Together, so I take it.
Right, but obvious is when you took off the berries before you tied it. Before you tied it to the lulav, you see, once you tie it to the lulav, you're getting into questions because you made the lulav and it wasn't kosher if the berries were on it. So then you get into this question. It was pushed away from the mitzvah when you made it, and now you remove the berries, and now you make it fit for the mitzvah. So we had that discussion yesterday, something that was pushed away from a mitzvah, rejected from use from a mitzvah, can you go ahead and what? Once the rejection, the cause of the rejection is removed, do we say now you could use that item? So the Gemara is saying, it would seem that the case is you tied it with the berries. So at the time you tied it with the berries, it was rejected from the mitzvah. But you had too many berries on this hadas, right, Aaron? He had more berries than leaves. And then you subsequently, what did you do? You remove the berries. So now, an item that was rejected from the mitzvah, and now it came back, we see it comes back, and it says in the Mishnah that it's kosher. So we see a rejection from mitzvah could come back to be used. So that's what the Gemara is going to suggest. Let's see what the Gemara says. Ella the basa the agday. It's after you tied it, you remove the berries. So this was pushed away. This item was pushed away, meaning it was never fit. It was not fit for the mitzvah because it wasn't that it was fit for the mitzvah, then it became rejected and then became fit again. It was rejected from the beginning because it had too many berries. So it was pushed away before even the mitzvah. It was pushed away from the beginning. It was not even fit from the beginning. And you tied it with the berries, and then you removed the berries. So we say that it's kosher. So we see at least something. Now the Gemara is going to say there's two cases. The issue of if you have a mitzvah, something that was rejected from mitzvah, and then came back, and the thing that rejected it, the thing that caused the rejection was removed. Now, do we say it's fit? There's two cases. There's case number one, that it was fit for a mitzvah. Let's say you had, we're going to go to Simon's case. You had berries on it, but the berries were green. And it came Yom Tov, and you removed the berry, and it came Yom Tov. It was fit for the mitzvah, but then at the beginning of it, then as the time of Yom Tov went, it came rejected because it turned black. And then what happened after it turned black? Somehow you removed the berries were removed. Or let's say it turned red and then it returned black, right? So now it was fit for the mitzvah, but rejected from the mitzvah, and then came back. That's case one. What is it? And you know, you could take it, but let's say he went out and he took it off. He should not have done it. So now it became fit for the mitzvah. So it was good for the mitzvah, rejected, and then became good again. That's case one. Then we have another case it wasn't good for the mitzvah from the beginning of Yom Tov. When Yom Tov came, the berries were black. So it was rejected from it was. So it's not even in the ball game. It was never fit for the mitzvah. It wasn't fit for a mitzvah and then rejected. Fit for a mitzvah and then rejected. Then to become fit again is worse. The Gemara says than something that was never fit for the mitzvah to begin with. It was black from the beginning, so it's not like it was really rejected. It wasn't even of age, so to speak. It's like you have a candidate that runs for election, right? If he was fit for the election and then he ran and then he was rejected, now he wants to come back for the election. Good morning, Charles. So he was fit, but once he was fit for the election, then he was rejected. Now he wants to come back to run for office. You already were a candidate. You already were in the primaries. You stepped out of, you said, I'm running for election. And then, then he steps out of the election and he wants to come back. That's a joke. But a guy who was never in the election to begin with, he said he was rejected. So it's not like he was there and rejected. He just never was fit for the election. He was whatever the situation. He was out of the country. He wasn't fit. He couldn't run for office because of some sort of technical. And then he came into the country. But he was rejected. You couldn't put you up because you were out of the country. So that you weren't even fit for it. It's not that you were fit and you were rejected. So that the latter is more reason to be possibly accepted for a mitzvah that something was never in the game to begin with. You were never in the game to begin with. You on the DL list, whatever it is. What?
Usually it's kosher the first time, and then it got unkosher. This one was not kosher at all.
Right. So there's two ways you could look at it, but or you could look at it that it's like it's beginning. It's like it's birth now because it was never there before. So it's like it's the first time you're coming onto the that candidate the first time he didn't announce his candidacy. So that's that's the question. So with the berries, so if it was too many, if you tied it with too many berries, so therefore it was not fit to begin with. But so we're going to prove that case from this story the Gemara said. So let's prove that this case was you tied it with too many berries and then you removed the berries. So it was not fit to begin with when you tied it because there's too many berries. And now you made it fit. So now by removing the berries. Before Yom Tov. Before Yom Tov. So the Gemara says, that when something is pushed away from the beginning, if it was not fit from the beginning, it's not called pushed away. Maybe something that was fit and thrown away and come back, maybe that's a problem. But at least we could figure out that something that was never to begin with fit. It's not called a problem to come back to become fit for the. It's like it's now being born now. It's a new beginning. It was never here beforehand because it was never fit to begin with. So the Gemara said he wasn't 13. He wasn't bar mitzvah. The fact that he couldn't be helped for the minyan beforehand was not a fit. So good morning. So the Gemara says, "Lo, la'olam bata de'agdei." Really, the Gemara says, when did you remove the berries? Talking about removing berries on hadass. If you have too many berries on hadass, if it's black, if it's black or red, it takes away from the beauty of the hadass and it's not kosher. And the Gemara says, if you have to remove those berries before Yom Tov, and then if you remove those berries before Yom Tov, it is good. So the Gemara says over here, la'olam basa de'agdei. Really, you remove the berries after you tied it to the lulav. You should have removed it before you tied it, but you removed it after you tied it. Agad eged hazmana ba'almahu. That's only a preparation. Hazmana ba'almalav klum. What does this rabbi hold? He holds that you don't really need to tie the hadassim and ravot to the lulav. We do tie it. We tie it for beautification purposes. But if you don't tie the hadassim and ravot to the lulav, it's still a kosher lulav. So when you went ahead and you tied the hadassim and ravot to the lulav before the holiday, that act is not. It's not that now, and you tied it with too many berries. Are you going to tell me it was pushed away from the mitzvah because it was, it's invalid for the mitzvah? But the mitzvah didn't come yet. There's no mitzvah yet before Yom Tov of the Hadass. When does the mitzvah of Hadass come? On Yom Tov. If it was still tied with the berries when Yom Tov came, then it would be pushed away from mitzvah. Too many berries before Yom Tov on the Hadass would reject it. But here, good morning, it was not rejected. Why wasn't rejected? Because Yom Tov didn't even come yet. Now you're going to tell me, Rabbi, what do you mean? He prepared it. He tied it before Yom Tov. So when he tied it, it was tied inappropriately. It was tied with the Hadassim and the Ravot, and those Hadassim had too many berries on. Tying it wasn't even necessary. The tying wasn't a necessary component that you had to tie it. It's only preparing it. It's only like preparing the lulav and the Hadassim. You're preparing it. So since you tied it at a time that it's not the mitzvah time, when you had too many berries, and by the time Yom Tov came, you removed the berries before Yom Tov, so it's not called it was ever rejected. Because when Yom Tov came, it was perfect. And therefore, it's not a case of rejecting and now coming back. Something that was rejected from a mitzvah, can it come back and be used for the mitzvah? This was never called rejected. So therefore, we can't prove if something that was originally rejected for some reason, and now the rejection is removed, can you use it or not? We can't prove it yet. We'll see tomorrow. We'll continue on this fascinating idea. We thank everyone for joining. Every second counts. Every word of Torah is a mitzvah. So they clock John F. Kennedy at 200 words a minute. So 200 words a minute, every minute you get many guys. If you talk like John F. Kennedy, you got 200 mitzvot. Have a great day, everybody. You too.